So this is notes on the second episode. I just wanted to fix some things I didn't read correctly. So the first thing was the little dialogue here with the So what I realized here is I think that this is implying that they can't see me. So this is saying, the really far away last dungeon, the dragon's castle. You should set your sights towards that place. And then he's also saying, the king also repeats, oh yeah, you should set your sights towards there. And this is just, the leveling up stuff I mentioned. It says, hero, you should depart or set out on your quest towards, the battleground or whatever. And so you're transparent, and so I guess when he's talking here, he noticed your presence, but doesn't acknowledge you because he can't see you. So he's like, oh yeah, what is it? He's like, me? I didn't call for anything. I think that's what it's saying. I didn't say anything. And you talk to him, and then the king's like, oh, what is it? And then the jester is like, oh, nothing. Okay, and so the next thing I missed was this conversation between the baker on the right and the antique shop owner on the left. So basically they're talking about trying to market stuff. So the character on the name left is Curio, like curiosity, I think. So this one they're saying, why don't you try selling all of that merchandise, making and selling that merchandise. Maybe you can try selling your character merchandise. So there's this word that's like kiraguz. It's like character goods. I think it's like merchandise or merch for lines of brands or something. And then it says, or how about trying to make picture postcards? Curio's like, oh yeah, I wonder what the next big hit with all these young people will be. The baker replies, the next big hit, isn't that kind of hard to figure out? And keeps saying, oh, recently, stuff that young people like, I don't really have a clue about it at all. And then Curio says again, but don't you want to, don't you want to hit on and figure out the next big thing? And the baker's like, huh? I've never thought about such. I would never think about such a thing. And the baker's like, you're a really ambitious person. So, they're basically just discussing between themselves, and of course they don't notice you. So this conversation is between Flora, a florist on the right, and then this guy named Gaze, a homeless lower class man on the left, who kind of talks in a lower class way. So Flora's he's like, oh, it looks like it's gonna start to get noisy here. I think referring to the dog and the hero that are kind of running around. And then the other guy replies, he's like, yeah, sure really seems like that dog chasing idiot's gonna be able to defeat the dragon. So he's kind of making fun of the hero. And the Flora responds, he's like, oh, you always seem to see things that way, you know, I think implying that he's being too cynical and mean. And she keeps saying, I don't like negative people. And he responds, if you dislike me, it's fine, like I care, like I want to be liked by you. And she's kind of upset. He's like, oh, you're so awful and you're so horrible, and like making like sniffing and crying sounds. And then he's saying, oh, now you're crying, and women and children are so complicated. So he's kind of like a jackass. And then the last thing he says is like, oh, don't cry, or like, stop crying. So a few more things. So this dialogue is just like, she told her dog, don't bark like that. It's just like, oh, don't bark like that. Or stop barking. And then like, oh, could that be you? So she's like, oh, could that possibly be you, Spade? She gets the name wrong. And then you're like, oh, who's that? And then she says like, oh, really? I was sure that my grandson had finally come back. And anyways, I don't know who you are, so sorry. And then when you respond with yes, she's like, oh, you're back. And yeah. So it's kind of, I read the dialogue this time that actually shows that she thinks you're her grandson. And this part I wanted to say, oops. She's like, oh, it's good, and you should make sure to accumulate lots of love to the best of your power, or like as much as you can. And the next thing says, so like with your strength, open the door to the light or something. Proceed forward. And oh shoot, I didn't look up what that was. Moon's inhabitants, or this is saying like, okay, and now like, I think transport or like entrust your body towards the same flow as time as the inhabitants of the moon world. I think it's just a fancy way of saying I'm gonna warp you to the other world. And yeah. So I think that's most of what I missed. So I'll try to do the third episode soon. But yeah, thanks.